And joining me now from Arlington, Texas, from the Metroplex, where the 60-second home run wound up in the hands of, apparently, a man who is a vice president of a hedge fund. Is that the most 21st century story that you can ever hear? Yes, indeed. Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show, Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How you doing, Jeff?
Not as good as that guy.
Right? I mean, is that the most 21st century story, that the baseball winds up in the hands of a vice president of a hedge fund sitting out there in left field? I mean, it's
wild. I was out there last night trying to find him, trying to find the ball. You know, he went to security. I was standing outside a door, and it turns out it was in front of a completely empty room. I was standing there for like 45 minutes. It was pretty pathetic. And then when I realized that nobody was in the room, I went over to the area, and the security guy was being a hardo, because what are ballpark security guys if not complete hardos, and wasn't letting me go down to the front row where it was caught. So I was just waiting up in the concourse, like creepishly looking down to see if anybody in the first couple rows was going to come up to grab a beer or something. And I see this father and his sons walking up, and I just wanted to know, like, was it a clean catch? Did you see it? And the guy says to me, yeah, it was clean, and I thought I had it. And sometimes the journalism gods smile on you, Rich, and it was the guy who was right next to the guy who caught it. This guy was a left-hander, so he's coming in from the left side with the glove on his right hand. The other guy who caught it is a right-hander, and he's coming in from the right side with the glove on his left hand.
That's it.
And their gloves, if you go and Zapruder the video, their gloves met. And this guy I was talking with said he thought, like, he played outfield in college, so he knows what it feels like to catch a baseball, and he felt like he had something in his glove, and then he looked into it, and there was nothing there. And it crushed him, because the other guy was wearing a Rangers hat. He was an enormous Yankees fan, and he had talked to his 13-year-old son. If we catch the ball, like, we know we're in these seats, we know we're in the right vicinity. If we catch the ball, what are we going to do? And his son had gone back and forth on it. He was giving up the idea, he was giving up the decision to his son, to a 13-year-old, and the kid said, if we can get into the clubhouse and get to meet Aaron Judge, we will give him the ball back. And Aaron Judge was that close to getting his 60-second home run ball. And instead, it's probably going to end up at an auction now.
Well, I mean, Judge said after the game, hey, it's the fan souvenir. I'd love to have it, but, it is a souvenir for a fan, and that's it.
I'm sort of two minds on this. I understand how capitalism works, and if you find $1 million lottery ticket on the ground, then that is fortune smiling on you. And anytime anybody comes into possession of something that's worth a lot, good for him or her. On the other hand, I was talking with someone with the Yankees last night, and he's like, this ball represents all of the hard work and achievement that Aaron Judge has had in 2022, and it would just be really nice for him to have it. And thankfully, Aaron Judge is going to be signing a $300 million contract this offseason, so I guess he can buy it if he wants.
Well, how about this, Jeff? I don't know. I mean, you are one of the things that makes you so unique is you're part historian and part reporter. So has anybody ever exchanged an historic home run ball for the right to manage the player's portfolio? How about that, right? So
you know what? That's actually would be a really good trade, Rich. I like that idea.
What about that? I mean, Judge is about to hit it, and part of the reason why he's about to hit it is everything and all the toiling of the 62 home run season. That's it. So Judge gives him his just one retirement account. Just one. That's it. Not all of them.
That being said, is it ever a good idea to start off a financial arrangement with somebody?
You're asking somebody who lives in Los Angeles. Half the people I know have a marriage like that. What are you talking about, Jeff? Come on, good Lord. You just described half of the town we're living in. All right.
It's me and my Midwestern night.
What are you? You're such an idealist. So let's get to the moment itself, because to me it was just it was awesome. But I'm a Yankee fan, so it was me and my kids jumping around in a living room. That was it for me. It was awesome, And I'm wondering, what you make of the whole to-do over a 60-second home run. I kind of saw your Twitter feed. We'll get to that in a second. But what does this home run mean to you, Jeff?
To me, it was a capper on one of the great all-time offensive seasons. We can get into where this stands in history, but I think there are different perspectives with which we can look at history. And for me, history is this very unique sliver of time that we're in right now, where the average fastball is 94 miles an hour and you regularly see 100. Breaking balls that have been developed in pitching labs are moving with speed and spin like we've never seen before. The offensive environment in baseball is down a quarter run a game this year. And Aaron Judge literally and figuratively towers over the rest of baseball. He is so good right now. He has been so locked in this season. And just from the perspective of, we like comparing history in baseball more than any other sport, and this number 61, regardless of Barry Bonds being the all-time undisputed home run king, both single season as well as for a career. I don't think Barry Bonds' presence diminishes what 62 means. I think 62 can be a special number, and Barry Bonds can be a record holder, and that two things can exist at once.
Well, the way I started the show, Jeff, and I'll just tell it to you here, since you are there in the state of Texas doing your own thing, is when any announcer is saying American League record, to me, you could just insert the word clean. That's the difference. That's what I believe. That's what I believe,
Rich,
Jeff.
no.
Absolutely.
Rich, do you
that's what I believe.
The problem with trying to bifurcate this record is that it opens up a Pandora's box that you just don't want to open. You just don't want to, because what is history if not filled with ugliness? Ugliness with which we have to reckon, yes, but ugliness nevertheless. The idea that there are two different types of sport. If you're going to do this, Rich, then let's talk about the clean championships for the New York Yankees, right? This is the Pandora's box you're opening now by saying that it's the clean record. In 2009, the New York Yankees had 4 either penalized or accused performance-enhancing drug users on their championship roster. In 2000, it was 10. In 1999, it was 6. In 1998, it was 3. In 1996, it was 2. Does that mean that the last clean New York Yankees championship was 1978? And do we have to partition these things off?
No, because that's a team. Because that's a team record, Jeff.
But Rich, you can't have one without the other. The implication is that there are clean sporting events, clean players, clean whatever you want to have it, and there are dirty. And that this is a very black and white line that you're drawing in a subject that is imbued with gray. We just can't separate these things and be intellectually honest about it. And that's my problem with what Roger Maris Jr. said about the clean record. Let's acknowledge that Barry Bonds used performance-enhancing drugs that helped him. I'm totally on board with saying that. And I believe that it colors the record that he set, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't invalidate it. It doesn't erase it. You can't do that to history. History has all sorts of nasty, awful things that happen in it. Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, a record at the time, without black players in the league. Like, you want to talk about, like, history that is sordid and screwed up. It's the fact that we as America were so broken as a country back in the 1920s and back in 1927 that we couldn't accept people into this league because of their skin color. And if you want to talk about performance-enhancing drugs, Rich, Babe Ruth's performance-enhancing drug was fastballs that came in at 85 miles an hour.
No, and I hear you. I get it. I understand it. I'm just also telling you there is a large section of the baseball-loving nation, of which we're both part, that 1,000% in terms of an individual achievement. A single player doing one single thing, hitting home runs over a wall in a single season. One guy had a trapezoidal head when he came into the league. He did not. And another guy has looked exactly the way he's looked since he came into the league. And that guy just hit 62 home runs. And when somebody's saying it's a new American League record, yes, that is true. There is a National League record that is the all-time record. But that's also, you can insert the word clean. That is the communication that has been happening.
Can you? And I asked this.
Well,
Sure,
go ahead.
I asked this looking back at 1998 when Patricia Maris, Roger Maris's widow, was on the road with Mark McGwire and celebrating everything he was doing and getting caught up. And this is not to imply. I believe Aaron Judge is clean. I believe that Aaron Judge does not use performance-enhancing drugs, but the definitiveness with which people say stuff like this, I also believe that Fernando Tatis Jr. would never, ever use performance-enhancing drugs, and, well, he's out right now because of them. And so I think it's a hubristic thing to sit there and say that this is clean when we know
don't
nothing about it.
I know. I hear you.
And when, by the way, the different gradients of clean come down as much to what the FDA does and does not approve as anything. And I'm sorry, but I don't want the Federal Drug Administration to be the arbiter of my sporting records. I just don't want that. I sit here and I look at what Barry Bonds did, and I wish that he hadn't, because I believe that with all of his tools and all of his skills, he could have beaten 61 without using PEDs. But I think it's also problematic when we start throwing out this idea of clean, because it's ahistorical. What the record book says is that Barry Bonds is the all-time single-season home run record with 73. What reality tells us, Rich, is that 73 balls flew over the fence off of Barry Bonds' bat in 2001. And to do anything other than say that is essentially an assault on the record itself, and I just don't think that the record should be subject to that.
Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, before I let you go, everything is set, right? Everything's set. We're all ready to roll, correct?
Sure are.
And the playoff
ESPN,
matchups.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 games a day potentially. It's going to be awesome.
How about that? And it's amazing that the Mets win 100 games for just the 4th time in their history, and much of their fan base thinks they collapsed. You know?
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, they collapsed over the weekend. Like, Mike Vaccaro, my good friend in the New York Post, put it well when he said, it's possible for the Mets not to have collapsed, but to have choked. And they, over the weekend, you go out there with deGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett, your 3 starters for a playoff series, and you can't win a single game. That is the power of the Atlanta Braves, and why I'm picking them to be back-to-back champions, because the Mets didn't collapse. The Braves just surpassed them.
Okay. All right. Who comes out of the American League? Is it Houston, in your estimation?
It's Houston. Yeah, I think the difference between Houston and all the other teams in the American League far exceeds that between Atlanta and Los Angeles and New York, the best teams in baseball this year in the National League.
I don't know, Jeff. I mean, if the Astros were ready, then Verlander would have struck out 9 in a row. He stopped at 8, and that causes concern for me, Jeff.
What a bum.
What a bum. I mean, seriously, did you not really want to try to strike out 9 in a row? Oh, my God. I mean, and Altuve and Bregman keep hitting.
Honestly, Verlander's a ridiculous story. He's 39 years old, coming off Tommy John surgery, and he's going to win the Cy Young.
Oh, unreal. Okay, and then last one for me, if you don't mind. Judge and Ohtani. What is there? I know Ohtani's already signed a $30 million one-year deal, which is wild to avoid arbitration. I've never heard anything like that. Judge and so what is the offseason conversation going to be? Because you'll hear all sorts of stuff about Ohtani's on the market still and what's going on with the Angels, and obviously Judge is a free agent. Tea leave that for me if you don't mind.
I mean, I would say those are the two dominant storylines of the offseason, but let's not forget Jacob deGrom is going to be a free agent. Trea Turner is going to be a free agent, and Carlos Correa and Dansby Swanson. And, I mean, it's going to be a crazy winter, but, I never discount the possibility that one owner completely blows up free agency and says, I want Aaron Judge on my team, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get him here. I have a tough time seeing Judge being anywhere but in pinstripes. You can't let him go if you're the Yankees. He's the heart of the team, and so I think he will be there. Ohtani, boy, if you're an Angels team that has struggled for relevance since 2015, that still has not gotten Mike Trout a single playoff win, and you have the opportunity to, on the fly, rebuild your franchise by trading Shohei Ohtani, who has 1 year of club control before he hits free agency, you have to really explore that in earnest. At the same time, you'd be the team that traded the most talented player in the history of the game, and that's the sort of legacy no one wants.
Great way to sum it up, as always. Jeff, truly appreciate it. Look for more of my calls and texts in the middle of the night throughout the postseason to have you back on here. Love our chats. Thanks for the time, brother.
I look forward to not responding to them, Rich.
Fantastic. At Jeff Passan. At least we're honest. At least we're straight up with one another right here on The Rich Eisen Show.